states. So it meets, I think, a fair amount of those definitions of remote or underserved or unserved in terms of broadband technology. The importance and the need for access to rural broadband is just really illustrated time and time again as I spend time throughout that district. Business and economic development, jobs as a result of that, education, healthcare, and certainly within the Pennsylvania Fifth, there are many, many communities and counties that are unserved or underserved with broadband technology. Communities like Renovo, Pennsylvania, and western Clinton County, where the small businesses, the school, the rural hospital, frankly, are very hopeful that this investment may at some point finally bring access of broadband that they need, because broadband has not been accessible by conventional means for that area. I wanted to follow up on Mrs. Dahlkemper's question, being a fellow Pennsylvanian, in terms of, with Mr. Strickling, what guidance of criterion were provided to the states, such as Pennsylvania, to assuring that the projects that they recommended met the definition of unserved or underserved? Were there criterion or guidance provided, or this is just the wish list that comes from the states?
The states were given an opportunity to provide whatever input they wanted to us. We're not relying on them to tell us what's an unserved or an underserved area. We wanted them to tell us what they view as a priority area for projects. We will be making
priority based on.
It could be largely based on the absence of the service being in the community today, but we will make the judgment whether any particular application satisfies our test for unserved or underserved. We absolutely invited states to provide data that they might have to help us answer that question, but they won't make that decision. We will.
Okay, thank you. Can you understand there are about 2,200 applications? Can you explain the process for reviewing those applications seeking federal funds and your use of volunteers to help in the process?
Sure. As I said yesterday, I prefer to call them independent experts, but in fact they are doing this at no cost to the federal government. I like to say they're doing their patriotic duty to help us. And the pool is an impressive pool. I mean, we have folks who are volunteering their time, who have served as senior executives in telecommunications companies, people who have built these kinds of projects before, but maybe they're retired now and they just want to give back to the community. We have, in one case, the former chair of a state public utility commission who's dealt with these issues for years and years. So they're highly qualified people. Our pool of experts is over 1,000. Each of them was vetted for expertise. We reviewed their resumes, and we also reviewed whether or not they might have a conflict of interest because they had worked on an application that had been filed, or they worked for a company that either filed an application or might be competing with somebody who filed an application. So we eliminated about 300 people from the pool for conflicts or for lack of qualifications. So the process is that each application is reviewed by a panel of 3 of these experts, and they each individually provide us a score based on criteria that we provide them in a fairly voluminous manual to guide them through the process. All that is a screening, though. All that does is those scores come back, and those applications who have an average score above a certain threshold are then moved into due diligence. At that point, my staff, the professional staff, supported by experts from our contractor, Booz Allen, do a complete top-to-bottom scrub of the application and really look very carefully at, do these people have the management capability to build a project? Does the budget make sense? Is this project sustainable, meaning will it still be operating 5 years from now when there's no federal money to support it? Are the benefits that are claimed really real benefits that we can expect? So we do all that evaluation ourselves on the top applications, and then we will select from that pool based on the review we do. So the first part of this is really just an initial screen to find the best applications in the pool. As I have said repeatedly, and I tell my staff every day, don't worry, we are going to have good applications that don't get funded because we were oversubscribed by 7 times. What we need to do, though, is make sure that if every application we do fund is a good application, and it's one that 5 years from now will still be operating and still providing service in their community.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Mr. Michaud.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, Mr. Ranking Member, for having this hearing.
There has been, I want to thank the panels as well for your testimony this morning. There's been more than